Either way,
let's go. Let's keep going down the line. Which Rocco, you'd be next. In terms of society.
So I would like to say, first off, I'm going to start it with asking you guys a question. Do you guys feel like society is working for the majority of people right now? Do you get and that goes for every level of society, whether it's financially, the job stuff, education, anything and everything. Do you guys think it's working for the majority of people right now, or do you think it's not?
Okay, I'm going to say no financially, but this leads into my topic, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Where are we talking
So let's just say, because we all live in this, not everybody lives in the States right now, but we've all at some point, lived the majority of our lives there. So let's talk about the States because, worldwide things are different across the world right now. Yeah. And there is different societies, obviously, no matter where you go. So let's talk about America.
America. Well, that's a topical, right? That's good.
Yeah.
4th of July.
So what do we think? Do you guys think it is or not?
Okay, so society is working.
Say what?
No, I don't think it ever works, and that's the thing. Is honestly, I think people really have this idea of one fix.
A utopia.
Yeah, if we do this one thing, it will fix everything. And if it doesn't align with what they believe, it's like, well, that won't fix everything, and so we shouldn't do it. And everyone has an ideal of how society should function and how it should work, and there is just no one fix all. And on top of that, any fix or Band-Aid that you do accept has to probably be rechecked in a couple years because society is constantly moving.
Always changing.
It's a moving target. So no, society's never going to be where we want, and that's kind of I believe that's why we're on this planet, right? If it's one of the pillars as to why we're on this planet, right, is to make our lives easier and our children's lives even easier.
So
right?
Let's talk about that then too. So look at the way that society is structured right now. Do you think life is meant to go and work 40-hour jobs and to make your money and to pay to survive and this whole thing? You think that's what life is meant to be? That was
no, obviously not.
Okay, so society could change that, but based off of what we think it should and how it should be operated and stuff like that. We could break away from things like that if society was structured differently. You know what I mean? If it wasn't structured exactly the way it is. That's what I guess I'm referring to right now. So much as, do you think that there's other options out there for ways to develop or build our society that could make a big difference in changing the way that the world is and operates?
You're talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's always going to be, like you said, 40-hour work weeks and everything, but even
there's only going to be that if we, in this society, right? There is other societies that could be created and developed and be operated and ran that doesn't even have money involved that could be made. And it's not something that we think is even a possibility because we've only been living in a society that is driven that way for a long time now.
But if you really think about society, everyone's trying to better themselves and compare it to other people. So you always have that competitiveness, You want to get that nice new car, that big nice house, So people strive for it, and a lot of people work more than 40 hours.
If you're bred that way, though.
That's what I was saying.
If you're thinking, if you got a mind
system and stuff like that, then of course, yes, you're right. But if we can break away from something like that, I think you'll see that those perspectives, the things that we call to be the norms, I guess, would change. Maybe not immediately, but generations deep, I think you would see something different. People wouldn't be let's say if it was a resource-based economy and not a money-driven economy, and everybody has anything and everything they need, then nobody's going to be judging themselves of, I got this or I got that.
I question if that can actually happen because I always think money is just a term for value, and I've been thinking about I was I think about this sometimes on the drive to work, right, or home. I'm like, okay, if we got free power, Tesla's dream, right? We wouldn't have to worry about a lot of things all of a sudden. And if we got AI intelligence, a lot of jobs get automated. I was like, okay, well, what if in a world where all jobs are automated, where people don't have to necessarily work, right?
You have a robot work for you.
Yeah, a robot works for you. You don't have to worry about power. Power's just coming in there for you.
Especially when it comes to jobs that are very meaningless, something that you don't need somebody to actually be doing. It could be
literally, besides research and entertainment, everything will be done not via human, right?
Exactly.
Well, but you still have value. Value still gets played in. So if it's not money, it's some type of value
it's what you can give back to the society. It's what
exactly.
But you can deliver back to society. So instead of taking the time to spend 40 hours a week going and working a job that's meaningless and stuff like that, you apply that into education of something that you love, whatever it is that you're passionate about and you're born to do, kind of thing.
That immediately,
and then give back to the society
breaks down.
That talent.
it's just hard because as humans, there's just this competitive nature. Like that might happen. Like if we were to wipe clean and start over, that's fine. It might last a year, 2 years, whatever, a certain amount of time. But I would believe it's short because as soon as someone comes out and adds to society in a great way, everybody's gonna compare everybody else's contribution, and just naturally of the need to get up there or be associated with that person, they're gonna want to. I don't know, help them or be like, look, okay, do it again, and I want to be a part of it, and I'll help you. Like all of a sudden value starts getting shifted to these people who are contributing more, and then you start having that caste system just naturally develop of hierarchies of who are just more valuable than others. And
I think,
Gotcha.
yeah, I think another thing is that we might be kind of missing out on, and changing society might work on like a really long-term scale, but there's nothing that would work within even like our lifetime, and I think that's also because of like the biological and like evolutionary development of humans in general, is because we're gonna have so much hard wiring left from like our days back when first humans came around, because there's so much that's still there even in our day-to-day lives that like we might not recognize. You know, that fight or flight is still a mechanism that gets used, you know, just even trigger your anxiety, you know, just like, oh shit, like I have to go to this party, like maybe I don't need to go or something like that. Right alone is going to trigger something that's like a primal thing, just like signal you. So the same thing that Clay's saying is like we're naturally competitive and we're naturally aggressive. Those kind of things are like what kept us alive just, you know, a few thousand years ago. And in a grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of time. So like those things still get us in trouble today. They're not good for a society where you want everything to work.
I guess this is where I take a stance in saying that I think that things are very, and this comes from being a father now and seeing children and the influence that I can have on a child, right? We can dramatically change the next generation.
I agree with you, Rocco.
Now, the thing is Clay is right, okay? There is going to be a generation, even generations above, that are going to have a mad difficult time. And you know what, to be truthful, that whole wipe idea would make it a lot easier. But it'll be the case where it's like, you know, if we were to instill these things right now, just say the next generation of parents just instill these certain things, that whole generation right there, when it comes to that generation being the parents or the next phase, it's done. That cycle's like moving forward entirely, full force. There's no stopping it at that point. So things can change, and it can take only, you know, 100, 150 years to see a dramatic change that occurs. Now, like everything in life, there's patience involved. So when we talk about being natural and all that, yeah, it would take time to happen. It's not just going to be overnight. You're going to see a day and a night kind of scenario. It will take time to be able to develop. But I think it still is possible. And we could change a lot of those things. And competitiveness isn't always a bad thing if it's like you're trying to get better, but as always seen still as like working for the whole and not working for the independent
You're
self.
talking about like a whole like Star Trek kind of universe thing.
So we're dabbling in what some would call communism, and I don't use that word in a negative connotation. I do believe that you're talking about a world in which everything is equal. We're also talking about hints of socialism, and I am for various forms of socialism.
The sense of everyone gets what they need and nothing more than what they're needing. So it's not like you're just, because there's no like money source where you're like, now I'm going to build up a fortune and do all this and that and that. You know,
so that's where I take issue with your argument, is that you're labeling money as the problem, and you're saying if we eliminate forms of currency, it will be fine. However, I believe that there's an inherent form of currency in our perception of value, and that will never go away.
Bartering.
I'm not saying that.
Bartering.
The money is the core issue and stuff like that. Realistically, the core issue is having people in politics. It's like having a whole automated system and stuff like that will change. I think honestly change different things, because when it comes to humans and I guess what you would call a democratic society can always be the flaws of being, you know, that value or whatever it is being used to influence individuals into doing things for the people's rights, I guess you'd say. If there's like an automated system, that's not existent really. You know what I mean? It's like you got operates and runs and
I don't know. I mean, you still need people making decisions, right? You still need people.
I guess in a sense, like people are still going to be making some decisions, but when it comes to like the whole government structure, I guess it could just be automated in a way. You know what I mean? Like instead of
I don't think so.
Automated how?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Trying to cram a lot into 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
We are talking. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the topic in general is very. It's like open-ended. Like there's many facets.
If you think of, I don't know, like the whole Thomas Edison thing and like Tesla giving free power, but the thing is because like there's so much money involved in that. You know what I mean? That's why the whole solar power thing will never really happen, because even when you do try to get solar power, Rock, you were talking about like the government wants to tax you on top of that.
Really?
Yeah,
they do.
when he wanted to get free power, but he has to pay for the free power.
Yeah, that's funny.
And rainwater
switched
collection.
over.
So So here's what I guess that's what I'm
Seriously.
kind of saying too as well, like
That's
those kind of
fucked up.
things. Like also, here's
That's
what some
pretty
people are doing right now. In Amsterdam right now, there's a new society being structured, which is where they create. It's a self-sustaining society, I guess, or community. Let's just call it, okay? So it's like creating smaller community kind of based places and stuff like that, where these guys are going to just start with 25 homes in 2017. They're going to be creating their own food and their own power and stuff like that, and creating their own little community. There's also a thing out there called, so they're obviously seeing that their society's not really working for them. They kind of need to do something a little different, which is where I believe that community is a good structure, because it not just becomes somebody like everything all on one household's shoulders. Now you share that responsibility, and then working as a community or a larger unit makes things in life always so much easier. I mean, it can make things harder, but if it's a like-minded group and you work really well together, it can make things a ton easier
It's
to
just-
accomplish.
It's really hard.
But
to
there's
do.
always going to be there's going to be times where people are doing more and thinking that they deserve more, and that's going to be
People
where
are
the
always going to want
competitiveness is.
more.
Yeah,
Right.
and then
Do
it's like,
anything
oh
to get
hey,
that.
in this community, I'm doing all this stuff over here, and I have a really important role. I'm busting my ass every day.
Not long ago, Native Americans were doing absolutely not that at all, right? It was like a tribe environment where they had their young and they had their olds sitting there right with them, and they ate first, and they gave them the food first, even though the hunters went out there and got all the food and did all the work. Things could be changed, you know what I mean? Like the perspectives, I understand that we have those perspectives right now, and that is ingrained in the society for people to be like, it's all about me, I'm doing this. It's a big focus on me and not a big focus on community or us. It's just a me. So whenever you go, oh, I did more work, I deserve more, it's a me focused thing.
Sure.
Instead of us. Like, hey, I'm contributing, maybe I can give back to as well, because I am doing so much and I'm getting so experienced. Maybe I can teach the next guy and the next guy and the next guy that too. And now it's not just me, it's all of us working as a unit.
It's a
Better.
gradual thing. It can't be forced. Basically,
That's-
is what we're saying, right? It's
Yeah.
because you're saying instill it on our children,
Sure.
and then their children's children, and their children.
It's
But
not
people
gonna
have to be
us.
ready for it.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
know.
like
It's
our
not gonna be any
generation
of this
would be
generation,
the one
yeah.
to do it, because we're so ingrained already as it is. Like Alan was saying too, that we really can't. We can make some minor changes and even some major changes, but not really be 100%
Well,
on board
it's-
with that whole thing. You
It's
know what I
kind of
mean?
starting to happen already, because I kind of read something the other day, like they're talking about like millennials and like how they're. I guess people are saying that they're ruining the economy because
What?
because
Oh,
they're saying that
I'm
they're
doing a
saying that
topic
they
on
have-
this soon.
They're saying
Yeah.
they have to pander to the millennials, and millennials aren't spending money like because they don't really care about like
We're gonna talk
getting
about
new
this a little
stuff and everything like. Oh, we are talking about
Yeah,
that. My bad.
The next
Okay.
time. So one last thing,
My
too,
bad.
guys, real quick, I want to say is, if you can get out to the Venus Project, for a while. It's called the Venus Project.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.com. Okay, it's by a social scientist. His name is Jacques Fresco, and he speaks about trying to see how you can develop a new society and all this and that. And what
that's
he does
cool.
is he takes together all the research and the scientific evidence that's out there that says that what he's proposing could be a reality today, not 100 years in the future, not 150. But today we have all of these pieces. They're just pieces of puzzles that are scattered throughout different rooms. And if we can put them in the same place, it can make a totally different society. So if you were to check it out, it's about an hour and a half long, but it can actually give you a lot of like evidence and research based behind a different society and a structure that I think could work for people to create more of a harmonious, peaceful environment here in the world, and less what we got going on right now.
Hell yeah.
I got
You know?
one other thing on this topic. You could also watch The Giver. I think that's
That
Or
one's
read the book.
No, it's not it's not the same, but it's not where it makes automatic.
I know.
Thomas, like robotic people. Like everybody's still like living and lively, but we're doing more things that we want to do at that point. We're living passionate lives and doing what we're passionate about instead of being driven by money. Where we're just saying, hey, we got to get this value, so that we can live this life that we want to live. And to do that means that I have to. A lot of times, people feel that society says you have to give up what it is you have your dreams set on and go do what's gonna, make you that money or whatever it is that you need to make in society. Like you got to be that doctor or that lawyer because they have a better status. Then fine.